Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Gray Podcast, a show meant to educate and talk about politics for people our age, being from 16 to 19. We created this show to get raw footage of political discussion between teenagers about problems going on today. My name is Marcos Salazar.
And I'm Alexia Lucio. On today's episode, we'll be discussing topics that are prominent in today's society. We did want to add a different viewpoint to it, so we'll be looking at a perspective from someone else.
Hey there. I'm Logan.
Thank you for joining us, Logan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Okay, so as a disclaimer, we try to use as much fact as we can, but our opinions are not excluded. So.
And with that, let's get started, everyone.
Let's start.
So, the first question I'd like to ask you, Logan, is what are three main reasons you support Trump that don't include Biden so much of the political election this year?
All right. So, if I had to pick three reasons, one of them I'd say is that I think he's got a lot of strength, and he's not politically correct all the time, but I do agree with a lot of the arguments he does make. And two, I feel like he genuinely does want to make the country better. He's not doing it for anything selfish or anything like that. I feel like he just wants to make the country actually better. And three, I mean, he's a businessman. He won't let show that our country's weak, and he wants to prove to people that we're not going to give in. We're not scared, of other countries. We'll show that we're strong. Oh, and then another reason was just kind of, I don't know, I've always I wouldn't say he's like the underdog, but I just think that the media kind of paints him out to be a villain a lot of the time. And, a lot of the time, some of it, yes, I do think a lot of it can be deserved, but I feel like some of it is just super biased, and he kind of shuns out the hate, and he just blocks out the haters, and I kind of like that about him.
Okay, so that leads into our next topic. So in the debate, Trump said he would not denounce white supremacy and that Black Lives Matter protesters were villains and thieves. He painted them out to be almost thugs. So how do you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement?
Oh, I really do like the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, my basketball coach and a lot of my friends are Black, and one of my best friends at the school is Black, and he said he's kind of afraid to get his license and when he grows up, because he feels like he's gonna get pulled over, and it's just something as simple as a ticket can be something as unsimple as your life, which is kind of crazy to think about. And I think that's really unfair that I shouldn't have to worry about that, but he should. I find it really terrible, but I do feel like some of it is very painted by the media, because if you do comply, I would say a good 95% of the time, you're not gonna. What happened to George Floyd should not happen to you. I feel like his death was super wrong, and he complied. He did everything he should, and he died for no reason at all. That was completely unfair. But I do feel like if you aren't scared of the media and you comply with police 95% of the time, you shouldn't have to worry about your life being in jeopardy just from a ticket.
I'd have to agree with a lot of those standpoints, Marcos. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, not personally. No, that was a fantastic argument and bringing real life amples into that. Well said, Logan. Well said.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'd really have to agree with that.
Well, this one's not as important compared to the other ones. I'd like to ask about your feelings of Trump's massive contradictions to himself. During my own personal research, I've found many different separate forms of him constantly contradicting himself, saying like pro-life, he's pro-life one day and then he's pro-choice the other day, or with his constant tweets, you can easily find at least 7 contradictions just by scrolling past them. So, what's your opinion on Trump constantly doing this to himself?
Really, I'm not very sure. I mean, that's kind of like I agree with that. He does self-contradict. I've did research too, and I see so many videos of him contradicting himself. But I feel like it is a political thing. Sometimes, when you're like in the presidential debate, you have to say one thing one day, and one thing the other. But I think that like all people running should, if they believe in one thing, they should, go for that one thing, and they shouldn't contradict themselves. But I've also seen lots of clips of like Biden doing it too. Like one day Biden was like, he didn't want the mask rule. Like he didn't want it to be like an official law that you had to have a mask on. And then the next, few months or whatever, he was like, he completely changed his mind and he said like, I want that rule, So I do kind of feel like it happens to everyone, but I do agree with your point. Trump does contradict himself a lot.
I feel like your example of Biden is more of him changing his opinion than him contradicting himself.
Yeah, I think you could say that.
Should we move into our next segment?
Well, I believe we should. Logan's been giving off a very great points to this, and there's really not that much room for argument. He has well thought out opinions through this, and well, I don't really see an issue through any of this. So I'd love to move on to the next segment if you'd be willing to, Logan.
I'm all right with that too.
Before we move on, though, I would like to say that Logan does not speak for all Trump supporters. Logan is one separate person.
Yeah, so. I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to politics, but if I had to say, I would slightly lean towards Trump.
Okay, so moving on to a better note, we decided to play a game. I mean, a political game, but a game. Marcos, do you want to explain the rules?
Now, this is a game that we'd like to call Fake News. And now, in this game, we select characters from shows and guess whether they'd vote Trump or Biden. Mind you, we're talking about the show characters and not the actual actors themselves. So, each of us chooses who we believe the character votes for, with the fourth one being guessed by a poll of our followers on Instagram. And now we move on to this game, Fake News, with this week starring the TV show Good Luck Charlie.
Okay, so let's start off strong with our Lord and Savior, Amy Duncan. Okay, I feel like she votes for Biden just because she was like so strong, and she always stood up for her kids, like even if they were in the wrong. So I just feel like Biden, 100%.
All right, so now we're moving on to my good old boy, good buddy, old pal, good Bob Duncan. So, as someone who's not watched Good Luck Charlie in many recent years and who only did some research for this, I'd have to believe that he is a Trump supporter.
Okay, I have to agree with you because I thought you were gonna say Biden, but I think he's a Trump supporter. Like he is just like all air in the head.
I think Bob is a Trump supporter,
and he's an exterminator.
Hey, yes, I would also like to point out that he this is more of a personal opinion, and if you want, we could discuss this. But he gives off that feel. Like some people, you have a feeling of that, and
Oh
he
yeah,
exerts that feel
I feel that.
of who they support.
100%.
Look, and our esteemed guest Logan. Logan, you've been given Teddy Duncan. So, who do you believe he supports?
All right, well, Teddy, I think she's a lot like her mom, and I'm gonna have to say, she's gonna vote with her mom on Biden.
No,
Yeah.
I think she's a Trumpy.
You
I
do?
think she's yes. Okay,
Oh,
so remember her boyfriend Spencer?
yeah.
Okay, he just gave me Trump vibes. And so I feel like she was so stuck to him. Like, a lot of the season, she wasn't even like her own character. Like, I just felt like she was Spencer's girlfriend. And so I just feel like she's a Trumpy.
Any counter argument to that, Logan?
I feel like, I really do feel like she's a lot like her mom. Or she, like, I don't know. Just exactly how you described Amy, I would describe Teddy, because she's literally like her mom. I mean, they're always so close in the show too.
True.
And it's
very debatable.
And there have been multiple articles published that that people who are close to parents do vote very similar to their parents.
Their parents. Yep.
Okay.
And so that was interesting indeed.
Oh.
And now for something even more interesting, Alexa,
Gabe.
show us those polls.
Okay, so I put Gabe Duncan up on my Instagram story as like a poll to see like what the people who followed me thought. And I got 74 for Biden and I can't remember for Trump. I want to say 30. So a couple of people like did like I think like 5 people voted that he would be a Trump supporter, but like 7 or 8 people said he was Biden. So I think he's a Biden supporter, if anything. He's kind of like
Interesting.
the disappointment of the family. I mean, not disappointment, but he got in trouble a lot, okay? And I just feel like he's the rebel. So if anything, his whole family could arguably be Trump supporters, and he could just be the rebel that, would vote Biden.
Yeah. I feel like he would be with his dad, to be honest.
No, him and his
'Cause I
dad
feel
didn't
like-
get along. He was always like finessing his dad.
I do love that word.
Okay, think about it. When Gabe grows up, he's probably gonna have like a minimum wage job, and he's probably gonna like,
No, that's PJ. He has the minimum wage job.
Oh, now that I think about it, you're right.
So,
PJ would vote Trump.
yes.
Well,
PJ for sure.
Okay.
whoa. This has certainly been a very interesting and a very, very happy first episode. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. So thank you all for listening to The Gray. Logan, thank you for joining us, especially on such short notice. We were really glad to have you here.
No problem.
Oh, and thank you all for joining to listen, and we hope to see you guys next Friday.